Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1821A, and today's date is March 21st, 2019, and the title of the episode is Setup Complete. Watch Gold, watch the central bank, watch what happens next. Now, don't you just love it when you find a $20 bill in a jacket pocket you haven't worn in ages, or a purse you've not used for a long time? Well, imagine this, finding hundreds of dollars in the papers that are sitting in your file cabinet. I'm talking about that old 401k paperwork. That money is sitting there doing nothing. Our friends at Noble Gold can cast an eye over that lost paperwork and see if you qualify for a precious metals IRA with it. So they're offering one of these special Morgan Silver dollars for all qualified IRAs above $20,000. So dig out the old paperwork and click the link below to get started on your gold IRA. Let's get into the economic collapse financial news. Now, we all need to get out of the mindset that everything that we thought before, where the central banks, they were going to bring down the economy, the central banks are going to do this, we need to understand, we need to realize that they are no longer in control. The deep state, the central bankers, they no longer have control. Right now, the patriots have control of the economic system. And Trump is using all their tools, everything they have, against them. Why? Because the patriots need each piece to come into play to create this plan. And we're talking about gold. We're talking about trade. We're talking about manufacturing. We're talking about bringing down the central bank system. All of this has to be set up in a certain way. Remember, Q has been telling us that gold is going to bring down the central bank system, which means the United States is going to have gold. The gold price is going to have to outshine, no pun intended, the dollar. And it's going to have to expose the central bank system. While all that's happening, Trump needs to prepare the United States for the transition. We need companies. We need manufacturing. We need job openings. And I'm not talking about waiters and waitresses. Nothing against waiters or waitresses or anything like that. But to have a successful country, you need all these pieces coming together. And remember, those who didn't want the United States to survive, they were getting rid of it. Now everything is being turned around on them. And this is the push that Trump and the Patriots are doing right now. They're bringing all these different pieces together to create this economy that will transition us from the central banking system into this new system. Remember, the petrodollar was created so the dollar would be able to come off the gold standard and move over to the oil standard. And this way, the central banks had the ability to create as much currency as they wanted, allowing the government to borrow as much as they wanted without any checks, balances, or anything like that, which then created corruption, further corruption. And it got worse since the 70s. Everything just went haywire. Actually, in the 60s, the central bank, before we came off the gold standard, they started to create currency like crazy. This is when countries started to realize what was going on here. And this is why they were asking for their gold back. And here we are. Everything is exposed. Everything is being set up perfectly. And you need all the pieces in place. Because once we bring everything back, once we bring the gold standard back, once we do this, guess what? Countries, they're not going to be holding the dollar as a reserve currency. They're not going to use it to buy goods here in the United States. This is why we need to create trade once again. And that is the direction we are headed in. Now, out in the UK, we see things are not going well for May. She went all the way to Brussels to convince the EU, I need an extension. and they denied it. Why? Because first, they want a reasonable vote on her plan, then they'll grant her an extension. Well, this is not going to work. Her plan, or the EU's plan, was rejected twice. So right now, cabinet ministers have been telling many reporters that May's days are numbered. They might even expect her to resign soon. Now, this is unbelievable here. And there are problems here in the UK because the EU, the central bank, and certain individuals wanted a certain way. The people wanted a different way. And what we're seeing right now, Deutsche Bank, they've raised the odds on a no-deal exit to their highest level yet of 20%. It was 15%, now it's 20%. However, a no-deal exit isn't the bank's base case. It continues to expect the EU to approve a long-term Article 50 extension after May resigns. Now, they're going to try to reintroduce the same exact plan. If she resigns, they're going to try to introduce the same exact plan and have it voted on. Now, people are not stupid. They're going to realize that, hey, we don't want this plan. That's still going to be a problem. So we might see still a no-deal exit. We'll have to see. And we'll have to see how this plays out. But as we can see, it's not going in the direction the EU wants. And the people are rejecting their plan. Even Trump was out there saying, this is not a good plan. Get a good plan, and the United States will have a bilateral trade agreement with you. Actually, there are many countries waiting in the wings to have bilateral trade agreements with the UK. Here in the United States, we know that the Fed decided not to raise rates in 2019. What did this do? This helped Trump immensely. Think about what has been happening here. The deep state, the central banks, they were pushing to bring down the economy in 2020, right at the election time, because when you hit people in their wallets, people respond. If the economy went down right before the election, everyone blamed Trump, and their candidate, whoever they were going to have there, that person would be a shoo-in, and everything that Trump did would be undone. Q told us that they already know this plan, and they're going to stop it. As we can see, Trump has full control of what the Fed is going to do next. We also understand that the mainstream media, the deep state, they're trying to make it seem like the economy's not doing well because now the Fed decided not to raise rates. So now they're trying to spin it that Trump's economy isn't as great and maybe it's only a statistical type of an economy. They're trying everything they possibly can. Think about what they're trying to do. They're trying to use every angle without saying Trump is manipulating the statistical information. Because they know once they come out and say that, well, it's game over for all of them. Because he's just going to turn around saying, I haven't changed a thing. We're using exactly what you gave me. So you're telling me Obama, Bush, Clinton, and the rest, they were all using these type of calculations? And you're saying they're all manipulated? But they're trying to go around it, trying to make it seem like, well, since the Fed didn't raise rates, that means the economy isn't doing as well as we all thought. Now, remember that whole mainstream media push that 2019, the economy's going to slow, and 2020, we're going to go into a recession? If you notice, they're really not mentioning that much anymore about that. You might see it here and there, but that big push is now gone. Now, what I think is going to happen, I think this is going to push the markets up. Remember, throughout all these years, the mainstream, and we talked about this many, many times before Trump, this was during Obama, this is right after the Great Recession of 2008, they used the stock market as a gauge on how the economy is doing. And we know this is not true. Trump just had the stock market move up once again. And it might even go even higher. because we're starting to see people saying, okay, listen, they're not raising rates. This is fantastic. Let me go buy some stocks here. And stocks continually rise. What else are we seeing? Well, since they're not raising rates, we might see gold inch up higher. Now, why would we see this? Well, remember Basel III. Central banks now have the ability to purchase gold. Right now, we're going to see the gold price stay pretty steady. It's not going to move that much. Not right now. I believe the end of 2019, we're going to see the gold price start to move up quite a bit. In 2020, more so. Why? Because during this whole period of time, I believe central banks of all different countries will be purchasing gold. Once they have what they have, and this is what they can purchase, they're going to want the gold price to start to move up. And we're going to start to see this. Which means gold is going to increase in value. Of course, if you compare it to dollars. The dollar is going to look worse and worse as time goes on. The stock market is going to stay up for quite a while. And this way, Trump can use the statistical information of GDP, unemployment, look at the stock market, to show the economy is doing very, very well until the election time. Now, the Fed might raise rates right before the elections. Will this bring down the economy? No. They might raise the rates because Trump, during this period of time, might even bring down the unemployment numbers a little bit lower, might bring the GDP numbers a little bit higher to show the economy is the best we've ever seen. This way, no candidate can point the finger at the economy. Now, the Fed might wait to right after the election. We'll have to see how this goes. And I think once we hit that election point and gold is really moving, I think this is when Trump is going to instruct the Federal Reserve, because the economy is doing so fantastic, to raise the interest rates like crazy. Now, it's not like Trump is going to come out and say, all right, and tweet this out, I want the Federal Reserve to start raising rates. No, this is going to be behind the scenes. All of a sudden, the Fed's going to have their meeting. They're going to come out and they say, okay, the economy's doing fantastic, unemployment very low, stock market fantastic, GDP fantastic. We're going to start raising rates right now. Trump will start to contradict the Fed. And this is how the ball is going to start rolling down the hill. Because throughout 2020, going into 2021, you're going to see the Fed start to raise rates. Trump is going to blame the Fed. The economy is going to start to sink. Trump's going to say, I had the economy doing fantastically. All of a sudden, the Federal Reserve decided to raise rates again. What the hell are they doing? And of course, what happens next? Well, the economy starts to fall apart. Everything starts to implode on itself. Gold continually rises. And during this whole entire time, up until the election, Trump has been working on bringing back jobs, deregulating, putting together tax incentives. And here we are now, after the election, and everything is falling apart. Trump set everything up for the transition. And he's going to continually blame the Fed. And once the system comes to a screeching halt, because right now it's being held together by spit and tape, once it falls apart, Trump will have the ammunition to audit the Fed, to find out what they've been doing all this time. And the people will be behind him. Remember, you need the people behind you. Congress will have no choice at this point to pass the bill to audit the Fed. Trump is not going to veto this. Trump will pass it. And you can see how gold, as gold continually rises, because gold is going to shoot up. Think about it. Once the bill is introduced, once the Fed continually raises rates and the economy implodes and the dollar loses value, people will be running to gold. Once they find out what the Federal Reserve has done, all their criminal deeds, gold will shoot up even further. And at that point, just like in 71, when Nixon made the announcement, we'll be coming off the gold standard because of speculators. Now, we know this is not the real reason. Think about what's going to happen now. Trump will make the announcement, we're going on the gold standard because of fraud, criminal activity of the Federal Reserve. We need a sound money system here in the United States. Something with checks and balances. So this can never happen again. And guess what? Gold will be the answer. Gold will bring down the Fed. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.